Next, a session produced by the Washington Mystics.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nation's player of the century, Chamique.
Winning those games and winning those championships, man, it was like the best feeling like on earth. You're out there winning 1 year after the next, after the next. I mean, I felt like a rock star, I'm not gonna lie. I was like on top of the world.
The implosion really had a lot to do with all the accolades. Because when things aren't going great in your personal life, when you're not happy or you're not happy with things going on or who you are, it's very difficult to continue to be placed under that demand to be perfect, to be great, to be the best.
Please welcome former Washington Mystics player Chamique Holdsclaw. Here with Monumental Sports Network broadcaster Meghan McPeak.
So for a lot of you, I was telling Chamique in the back, I'm gonna try not to fangirl because I grew up actually watching her play, so for me this is a pretty awesome moment. But we're gonna have a really good conversation about mental health. That was a piece of the movie and the documentary that is coming out very soon on you.
Oh, it's out already.
It's out already?
Yeah, it's been out
it's out
for
already.
Like 2 years.
Okay, so with mental health, especially specifically in the African American community, it's a tough conversation to have. Right. It's a conversation that doesn't really get spoken about. What do you think plays a role in that?
Well, I think if you look at the African American community, we're people that have dealt with oppression, people that have been dehumanized, and that creates a trauma. But one thing that's been able to guide us forward is our faith. You know, we pray. You know, we're very headed to church. We get together. You know, we hope for a better tomorrow. But when you add in mental health and wellness, what's tough is you can't pray everything away, especially if it's a chemical like imbalance. You know, you have to kind of move people forward to get the help that they need. A couple years ago, I would say like 10 years ago, you would see a lot of church having counseling centers. And if you take it back maybe even 20 years, and that counseling center was maybe for marriage counseling, maybe some financial literacy. But now I go to churches around the world, and now it's like mental health and wellness, helping people who, have lost jobs and recover, people that have lost loved ones recover. So that's just really great because the church plays a big role in the healing of people. And to see, now the Black church and suicide, conventions and things like that to really help people heal is amazing.
For people that don't know your story, who was it that pushed you to seek help outside of, as you said, praying and actually getting the help to combat the imbalances that you were experiencing and having trouble dealing with?
Well, in my case, it took a village because I was really not in a great place, really sick, and it was something that was gonna like tear my life apart. I probably wasn't gonna be here. So the thing that I really hit home is my Coach Summit. She was battling dementia, and I remember people calling me from Tennessee, as Coach Summit needs to see you. And I remember I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I drive down that 3 hours to Knoxville, and she looks me in the eye, and she goes, "Since you were young, I've always told you to get these people away from you. It's too many distractions. You have to deal with people now that know your character." So when I think about people that knew my character, the people that called me at my weakest moments was, former WNBA player Tamika Catchings, Samika Randall, Kyra Elsley, who's the head coach at Tennessee. And they're like, "Chamique, you've always been there for others, operating in a selfless space. It's time that you take care of you." And it was fear, too. I mean, fear when you can find yourself in a mental health institution, fear when things happen and you don't know, you're so displaced. People are telling you, "Hey, this happened," and you don't even remember. It's a scary situation.
How hard was it for you to take that first step after, you met with Coach Summit, Tamika calls you, and then to just essentially swallow your pride? Because we saw in the piece, you felt like a rock star at one point. Everybody was shouting your name, and you were on the top of your game, but you had to accept that something was wrong. How hard was that first step?
Well, through all of this, from my days on the court, I'm a competitive person, you know, and I just saw how this was really, when I would come down from those highs, because I have bipolar disorder, and when you come down, the lows can really keep you trapped in a bad space. But when I would come back, try to come out of it, I just realized the love around me and the support, and I just wanted to be better. I wanted to be a better daughter, a better sister, a better wife. Like, I just really challenged myself, you know, and I'm just glad I've gotten to the other side of it. Now, I'm not cured anything, you know, I mean, I look at it as, an alcoholic going through recovery. You know, I just have a better coping mechanisms right now in my life. So it's one day at a time. You know, I think the thing that's really helped me is transparency. You know, it got to the point where, you know, I'm trying to like hide this. I was here in DC, amazing support here, the nation's capital, and I was too ashamed. I allowed the stigma to get to me. And when you're young, the only thing you know how to do is you run. You run. You just want to, you know, get away, thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. And so that was the mentality that I was operating in.
What prompted you to then transition and become an advocate and basically the face of mental health and adding to the others that have become the face of mental health?
It was probably like really looking back, you know, I had a suicide attempt, and, you know, I told myself, I was in that space, Chamique, no one understands, I'm the only one dealing with this. And I realized once I got brave enough, I had a reporter call me, and she kept stalking my agent. Oh my God, could she do this interview? And it was the first time that I got on air and talked about it. And when people heard it, man, so many people reached out to me, like, you're not alone, I'm going through this. I probably got thousands of letters, and then that gave me, it restored my hope. You know, it allowed me to just really see this as a community of people coming together. And one of the things that's really helped me is peer support. You know, I know now when I'm having a bad day, I have friends and colleagues that I can talk to that offer support and encouragement. And, you know, I'm out here just like living. I'm not afraid anymore. It's just like, here, this is me, you know. I do a lot of speaking at colleges, universities, you know, corporate speaking for companies, and sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I can get up there and say that. Do you know how that feels? It's like you can let go of all the pressure and stress, and you're accepted for who you are. So I always say, you know, I'm truly living in my truth.
Since you've become an advocate for mental health, what would you say has inspired you the most about this journey?
Wow, what has inspired me the most? It's been over, I would say, 10 years now, and I work with a lot of college-age kids, and to see them kind of grow, you know, they're faced with transitions. Like, I know before, when they come as freshmen, they're really gonna have a lot of anxiety because it's new. And when they're about to graduate, you know, the same thing. It's like, what do? I don't know, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling down, I'm nervous, I'm scared. And to see them go off in the world and learn to like cope and to deal with the different stresses and pressures, that makes me like feel so good, because at the end of the day, I'm like not a licensed therapist. What I try to do is offer great mentorship, because at the end of the day, you know, my friends who are psychiatrists, they say, Chamique, like, oh, I could get up here and say whatever. The kids are gonna connect with you because you've been through it. And like they told me, a good friend of mine, Dr. Lennon, she goes, I don't know what it feels like. Like, I suffer seasonal depression. Everybody goes through something. But she goes, you've been there. And when I talk to these kids, and I really open up about how it feels, you know, and they're like, oh, Miss Holdsclaw, oh, you get it. And it's like we just come together and try to support one another.
I'm glad you mentioned the mentorship, because it perfectly segues into my next question. When it comes to whether it's someone in the public eye, another athlete at the top of their game, or, you know, maybe there's someone in the audience today that hasn't been able to essentially publicly face what they're dealing with, whether it's talking to their family, talking to their coaches, what can you say to that person for them to take that step?
I would tell them, you know, there's so much out there now in literature, and, you know, athletes or someone they aspire to be, and it talks about their journey, and just really digging a little deep. I know my person for me that I attach to, and I've never met her, but she helped me through this journey, is Catherine Zeta-Jones. You know, she was the first celebrity that I saw that struggled with bipolar disorder. So I wanted to go read about her. And these young kids, for example, I didn't know, what's the young lady that used to date Justin Bieber? The young girl. Selena Gomez. Like these young kids, I had an 8-year-old tell me, Miss Holdsclaw, Selena Gomez is the most followed person on Instagram and she has depression and she's checked herself in. So these kids are able to attach. Us as adults are able to attach and just read about these journeys and hopefully somebody inspires you. And just at the end of the day, know that you're not alone. Shoot, call me if you're feeling down.
To wrap up, for friends and family and colleagues, because that's sometimes a tough one to deal with. Once you've sort of accepted that you are battling mental health, then you have to, and you've opened up. How or what can you say to the friends, family, and colleagues to support that person?
Wow, I would say be patient, because it's a journey, it's a ride, but letting that person know that you love them and that you're there for them. Don't try to fix them, because if you come at them and you're constantly trying to fix it, it irritates them. It irritated me. But just knowing that I'm processing things, but I know you love me and care for me, it helps me kind of get to the other side of things.
Awesome. What a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you.